Hello and welcome Super Bowl week on 10 for 10 sports topics with the News 10 sports team. I am Griffin Haas, sports director, and we have Brian Rudman. He's back. After 1 week off, we have him back on 10 for 10.
Excited to be back.
And it is Super Bowl week. Tommy and I touched on it a little bit last week, but more looking back at the AFC and NFC championship games. But now we could really dive into the matchup a little bit here between the Patriots and the Seahawks. I'm at that point of the week, and we are also media that are previewing the game where it's you get to the point where you're talking about the game so much, you're like, let's just play this game. Like, it's not like a bad thing from exhaustion, but you just get excited and you're like, let's just. I want this game to happen already.
Yeah, there's so much build up to it, and that also just comes with the biggest game of the year being played 2 weeks in between the last one. Like, it's not a normal NFL. Like, I get antsy. The Jets stink. I get antsy when the Jets are on a bye week to get them
Wednesday.
back.
You get to Wednesday.
Yeah, you're ready to watch football again. So it's 2 weeks. That's
a guy who has to watch the Jets.
2 weeks, yeah.
And he's still excited to watch football.
I know.
That's a true ball.
It's a sickness, really.
That's a guy who just loves ball.
Yeah. But no, I mean, 2 weeks in between the game, you're ready for it. I'm excited for it, and I expect this to be a good game. Two really good teams.
I think it's a great game. I think that a lot of storylines usually pop up during media week that hasn't, or like the media opening night and all that stuff leading up to it, hasn't really happened this year as much, which I think is nice because it kind of keeps it on the football, the game. There's not a lot of distractions or the storylines that they're there 2 weeks ago are still the same story.
Right. Yeah.
With Vrabel looking to become the first player or coach to win as a head coach and a player with the same franchise. So that's obviously one to look out for. I think that as far as on the field, it's going to be really interesting to see, again, this Patriots offense going against another top defense in the league. They've already beaten two of the top three defenses in football in the playoffs. This is the number one defense. That's in terms of point per game. Obviously, there's different ways to measure that. But the Broncos and the Texans were also top three, and the Chargers were like 9, so they're top 10. So they've done it before, and it helps that they have a top 5 defense themselves, and they've been playing maybe even better than that. So I do think, though, that this is a Seahawks defense. The Texans are really good. I think the Texans are as close to I think they're even better than the Broncos defense. I think that the Texans are as close to the Seahawks as it can get, especially when it comes to their defensive line. But this Seahawks defensive line, they get after you. And the Patriots have struggled to protect Drake May in this postseason. Part of that is because of the defenses they faced. But I think that is the main area of, can this offensive line hold up against this Seahawks defensive line? That is the biggest in the game storyline to me.
Yeah, I agree. I think because the Patriots have a really good defense too. I think the one difference in the opponents with Denver and Houston and LA, you saw offenses that were struggling. You're really not going to have that this time. There's not going to be any of that grace period for the Patriots offense to kind of settle into the game and rely on their defense, because Seattle has an explosive offense. Perhaps the most explosive in the league when you look at what they're able to do in the different ways they're able to do it.
Yeah.
But both these defenses are phenomenal, and the Seahawks are able to rush the passer really well. And we've seen Drake May at times in the playoffs, especially early in those games, struggle against the pass rush and struggle against pressure. How is he going to settle into this game? He doesn't need to be a superhero in this game in order for them to win it, but he just can't cost them the game, especially not early.
No, and I don't think that, he's had some turnovers. They haven't been the worst turnovers in the world. I do think that there's a difference. The Jared Stidham turnover, for instance, that's a really bad turnover because all of a sudden, they're going in to score. They haven't cost him yet. Obviously, don't want to be turning the ball over. I trust Drake May. I trust his decision making. I trust even under pressure that he's going to do the right thing with the ball. I think he's that good. It's just that when we talk about how much they've struggled, their offensive line, again, against really good defenses, he's been sacked 5 times in each of the first 3 games.
Right.
So, and they've been able to win because, like you said, now the Patriots defense deserves credit.
They're legit.
The Chargers offensive line, though, was beat up. And then you have the Texans. CJ Stroud I don't think he's very good. But again, the Patriots defense brought it to him. And then you went against Jared Stidham. But again, Credit to the Patriots defense. So it goes both ways, but they have not faced an offense in the postseason that is good that's as good as the Seahawks offense is. So that the Patriots offense is not going to be able to, skate by, not that they've been skating by, but they've been grinding out games.
Yeah.
I think they might try to, some people say, Drake May's going to have to go off or this and that. Like you said, I don't think that he's going to have to. I think that they're going to try to run the ball and keep it in, third and manageable situations so they don't, because if you end up in third and long against the Seahawks defense, it's over. I mean, the Rams, who have been as good of an offense as we've seen all season, they struggled in third and long situations. It was key for them to keep it in third and manageable. So I think they're going to run the ball and try to kind of grind it out, because I do think it's going to be tough to run the ball against Seattle, but I think you'd have more success that way. Yeah. I think Ramondre Stevenson's going to be a big factor in the game. He seems to be getting more of the touches than Trevion at this point. So I think offensively, running the ball, keeping Drake May upright is going to be key for the Patriots.
I also think and listen, Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator of the Patriots, has been there, done that when in terms of being the OC of a Super Bowl winning team. He, had Tom Brady and all those teams. And I think that's a good thing for the Patriots because they can't abandon the run game. They can't get flustered. They got to stick to what they want to do on offense, because this is a Seattle team where, they can go down the field and they can score on the first drive of the game and put up a stop, and all of a sudden the Patriots are down and they're looking and they're in a hole in a position where they hadn't really been this postseason. Throughout the game, they got to stick to the run game. They got to stay ahead of the chains. And also, listen, this is the Super Bowl. They've had 2 weeks to prepare. I'd like to see them add some wrinkles in to kind of try and keep this Seattle defense off balance.
Yeah, and I do think that, obviously it's one of those football cliches, but you want to get out to a lead. Obviously, you always want to get out to a lead. But I do think it would be a little bit bigger in this game to be able to play with a lead. Yeah. Where you can at least, you don't let it get away from you. Because the Seahawks have that ability, offensively and defensively, to kind of, we saw it with the 49ers, that game, special teams, all three phases, it got out of hand fast. Yeah. And I don't think that that's going to happen, but you don't want to be in a position where you are in any spot in the game where you need to throw the ball. And then on the other side, as we mentioned, the Patriots defense has been great going against the Seattle offense that is going to be the best one they've seen all postseason. And Sam Darnold has been phenomenal, and I think that at this point you'd expect him to be good. But the Patriots have seen Sam Darnold many times, as you know. A very different version of Sam Darnold.
Different version, different coaching staff too.
In organization.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying for the Patriots. I'm
just saying shout out Jets.
Yes. Shout out Jets.
Shout out Jets.
Shout out Jets.
Yes, different coaching staff for the Patriots. But I do think that one of the things that gave Sam Darnold problems early in his career, and even a little bit last year, was pressure and bringing pressure. And that's the famous Seeing Ghost game. I'm sure you love that one.
That was.
You have a poster of that game in your bedroom at home.
Watch. Yeah.
That was because the Patriots were blitzing him from all over the place, and he's gotten better obviously with time. But I still think that. You saw with the Vikings who did they play in the postseason last year?
I think it was the Rams, right?
The Rams, yeah. When they were bringing everyone from every direction, and he struggled with that. And the Patriots have been blitzing more in the postseason than they were in the regular season. They've kind of started dialing it up. So I think that's going to be key for them on the defensive side of the ball is stopping Kenneth Walker. They don't have Charbonnet. Charbonnet is not only their short yardage back, but he's also their third down back because he picks up a lot of blitzes, which Kenneth Walker is not great at doing. Right. So can they draw some things up, scheme up some things to get after Sam Darnold? I guess I also am wondering, because you weren't here last week, as a Jet fan, what are the emotions of seeing Sam Darnold in the Super Bowl with another team? I
want him to win. Sam Darnold to me was just dealt a terrible hand with the Jets. Does it stink that, Sam Darnold, the guy who the Jets picked third overall, is now finding so much success elsewhere. Yeah, it stinks a little bit. It stinks that it was the same draft class as Josh Allen, and the Bills have gone in a completely different direction than the Jets. I'm rooting for him. He got stuck with the last year of Todd Bowles and then Adam Gase. And I've had people and Jets fans say, well, this just proves the Jets should have traded Darnold. I disagree with that entirely.
No, they would have just ruined him. They would have ruined him. So
happy to see Sam Darnold doing well.
Yeah, it never was going to happen.
It was never he needed a change of scenery. He needed to go through the journey that he went through in order to get to this point.
And as you can see, the Jets still have not developed a quarterback.
To answer your question, it's bittersweet, but I'm rooting for him to do well in this game.
Yeah, I think that's the sentiment for most Jets fans. Is they're like, I think Jets fans are so turned against the Jets in a lot of ways. Obviously, you root for them, but I think it's so like you're almost happy to like see like, well, it shows what's again shows Woody and the rest of them like this is what's wrong with our team. We had this guy, couldn't develop him. So I do think that most Jets fans have seemingly been behind Sam. Sam was a talented guy again who just was dealt a terrible hand. I think he handled everything well during his time there. Yeah. Just didn't work out. But yeah, I agree. I don't think it's not like all of a sudden if they kept Darnold, they would have made it to the Super Bowl. Right. He just never would have had success in his career, which would have been sad.
He needed a change of scenery. And the other thing was, I think I'm also just, and this is beside the point, but I'm just a big believer in young quarterbacks sitting behind someone at some point in their NFL career just to get adjusted to the game. And I think the year that he spent in San Francisco as the backup did wonders for him. And we've seen him grow. And to get back to this game, I think for him it's going to be, has he learned from those mistakes of facing that amount of pressure, and can he, get past the ghost game and, take down the Patriots? And, I think for both teams, running the football is going to be important. But I think Darnold has a big advantage, and listen, the Patriots have good receivers, but you have Jackson Smith and Jigba on the outside, who's arguably the best wide receiver in football. And you also have, and I think he's going to be huge in this game, is Cooper Kupp, who is just so reliable for them and has been his entire career when he was with the Rams as just a check down guy. And it's so valuable it's going to be so valuable for Darnold when facing those blitzes, third down, red zone, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off the Darnold thing for a second too, about you mentioned the year sitting. I also think it's just as simple as even as big as, but even maybe more so. It's just coaching. Like you look at the Jets. I mean, enough said with coaching in terms of coaching and quarterback play. Then you go to Carolina, and that didn't work out, and I don't think he was put in a good position there. Not only did he sit in San Francisco, but he was with Kyle Shanahan. And Kyle Shanahan, we've seen, is one of the great offensive minds, great with quarterbacks. Then he goes with Kevin O'Connell, who is one of the great quarterback coaches, again, in the game right now. And then this year, he's with Clint Kubiak, who is going to get the Raiders job, and has been nothing but impressive. Yeah. So I think the coaching is it's always about fit. It's always about coaching and how the quarterback and the coach work together. In terms of their offense, Jackson Smith and Jigba, obviously Christian Gonzalez is a great corner, but they just move him so many places, and he's so incredibly versatile, and he's learned, like he comes out of the backfield, and so I don't know, maybe if they try to move Christian Gonzalez around a little bit more, because that might be their best bet, but that is going to be in the NFL, most times when you have a receiver like that, you think, well, they're just eventually going to double this guy and make them. But like he is so good that it's just been like, they're eventually going to figure this out, and they just haven't. No defense has been able to figure it out.
Yeah, and I think adding Shaheed at the deadline adds another wrinkle to that offense that keeps the opposing teams on their toes. That now you got to account for the deep threat as well. And I mean, credit's got to go to Kubiak as well. He does such a great job of scheming JSN open. Yeah. Everyone knows at some point he's getting the ball, and you look at that first touchdown he scored against the Rams, he was wide open.
I'm sensing that we could be on the same page about this, but what would your pick be? And we'll give a score. And, we don't usually give out the gambling picks, but it is interesting for the Super Bowl to see what you think as far as the spread. It's 4.5 right now. which is a big number in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It opened at 3.5. It's now 4.5.
Absolutely.
So what are your, let's just say, what's game pick? Do you got a score? What are you leaning?
I don't have an exact score. I would say the Seahawks by 1 score. I think it wouldn't surprise me if I think Seahawks by 1 score. It wouldn't surprise me if it's a touchdown, but it also wouldn't surprise me if it's less than that. And the Patriots can cover the 4.5. I think it'll be a close game, but I think the Seahawks are just a little bit better than the Patriots right now.
I think the more that I think about this game, I've kind of gone back and forth. I think that Seattle wins it, but I do think that New England's defense is good enough to keep it close.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's going to be particularly high scoring. I'm leaning like a Seahawks 23, Patriots 20. I think the Patriots can cover it. I think that this will be a game until the end. I lean, if I have to make a pick as far as the winner of the game, I lean with the best unit on the field, and that's the Seattle's defense, because I think the rest is relatively even.
Yeah.
I think the offenses are relatively even, maybe a slight edge to Seattle with their weapons, but I think that Drake May is even at this point better than Sam Darnold. So I think that's a little bit more even. And the Patriots defense is really good too, but Seattle's defense has been the most proven unit throughout the year.
Absolutely.
I lean with them.
Yeah.
I'm conflicted because I think Vrabel's a great coach. I think McDonald's a great coach. I think it's very even, so I would lean towards it being a close game.
Yeah, to your point, the Seahawks defense probably going to be the best unit on the field, and that certainly makes an impact. I also think when the Seahawks have the ball, the best player on the field, as good as Christian Gonzalez is going to be JSN, and that usually helps. But also, I think the Seahawks, both teams are good on special teams, but the Seahawks return game has been so dynamic that could also play a big factor in this. So we'll see. I lean Seattle by 1 score, but I agree with you. I think it's going to be a close game. It wouldn't surprise me either way. If it's within 1 score, it wouldn't surprise me either way if where the 4.5 lies, if Seattle covers or if the Patriots are able to cover the 4.5.
We are going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're talking more football with a local tie with Anthony Weaver next. Welcome back to 10 for 10. Staying in the NFL, local connection. We have Anthony Weaver, Saratoga Springs graduate, native, now signing on to be the defensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens. This is obviously a great job. He's going to join Jesse Minter's staff on a team that is going to be in the Super Bowl mix. It's a homecoming for him. Yeah. He played with Baltimore from 2002 to 2005 before ending his career with the Texans. And he was an assistant with John Harbaugh from 2021 to 2023. So this is a bit of a homecoming for him after 2 years as the Dolphins defensive coordinator. I think that the only way you could say, obviously, there's a little bit of disappointment is the fact that he was up for, he was a finalist for the Steelers job. I think he interviewed for the Ravens head coaching job. I don't think he was a finalist. He was a finalist for the Arizona job. And not only as a guy that is that I'm a Dolphins fan and I've seen him up close and I've seen his defenses up close and how much, even though they're not the best statistical defenses, how much better they were because of him with the talent that they had. It's just a little disappointing from an outside perspective. I'm not saying that he feels that way. I think that he is ready to be a head coach. I think he's a leader of men. I think he's a guy who's very liked and a guy that is very respected by his players. And there were 10 openings and it didn't work out. So it's a little disappointing there. He was up for a lot of jobs last year and hopefully he kills it in Baltimore and who knows, maybe goes to a Super Bowl, whatever it might be, and gets a job next year. But it's a little disappointing.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, listen, you always want to see whenever we have these local guys, go do great things at the highest level. It's always awesome to see, and it's great to see Weaver, as a defensive coordinator in a place where he played and coached formerly, and that's always cool. I think in terms of being a head coach, I think this is a guy who he'll get his shot at some point. I would like to think. I think he's going to a good place to be a defensive coordinator, right? Baltimore is a place where defense is always a high priority. He's inheriting a roster on that side of the ball with a lot of talent. Kyle Hamilton, Marlon Humphrey. I think if they have a good year, he'll be in the mix again, and you hope that at some point he gets a shot as a head coach.
And here's the thing. It is a part of a larger discussion right now that there were 10 openings and there were 0 black coaches that were hired.
Yeah.
The only minority hire was Robert Saleh in Tennessee. And that's not saying anything about this specific hire. That is just a fact. And it's part of a larger discussion. And Anthony Weaver's name, I haven't seen him talk about it, but his name has come up a lot in that discussion because this is a qualified person who has not gotten his opportunity yet. That's, like you said, not to say that he didn't, but there are obvious problems right now outside of Anthony Weaver. This is a larger thing than him in terms of the hiring of minority and black coaches. With Tomlin retiring, that was another who's left. So that is something that the league needs to address, and they've kind of talked about. Like the Rooney Rule in terms of interviewing is one thing that gets people in the door, but obviously those owners are the ones who make the hires. So wanted to address that aspect of it because that is a larger discussion that he has been a part of. But hopefully, as you said, he's going to keep doing his thing. He's going to do a great job with his defenses. Hopefully someone gives him a chance.
Yeah, I think that it's a topic that's certainly brought up, and when you lay out the facts like you did, 10 openings, only 1 minority hire, it's a conversation that's going to happen. And it's going to be brought up, and it's good that it's being brought up. And for Anthony Weaver, we certainly hope that, the Ravens have a good year defensively and he gets a lot of credit and, he gets his shot to coach to be the head coach of an NFL team, because that would be really awesome to see.
And we're talking coordinators, so let's talk offensive coordinators. Both New York teams hiring their – actually, we had all 3 because the Bills hired their offensive coordinator as well. Yes. But we'll start with I think maybe the more notable ones, because obviously Joe Brady's going to have a lot to say in their offense. The Bills also hired Jim Leonard, a great defensive coordinator, for that role, which I think was a great hire. But let's talk specifically about Jets-Giants. Because we have 2 former head coaches that are taking offensive coordinator jobs. We'll start with the Jets. I'll get your reaction. Frank Reich, former head coach of the Panthers, former head coach of the Colts. What's your feel about hiring Frank Reich?
Yeah, I like hiring Frank Reich. I think, there's no sugarcoating it. The Jets are not a desirable destination for many with experience. Why?
I'm just kidding.
How much time you got?
What do you mean?
Yeah.
It's the first I'm hearing of this.
Yeah.
Go on.
So I think to get a guy like Frank Reich with the experience, I think it's a good thing, and I think having another person who was in the head coaching role could help Aaron Glenn if he chooses to tap into that resource. We'll see if he does. But I think having a veteran coordinator and a veteran play caller, it can only be a good thing for the Jets, you'd hope. I don't know if this is a long-term thing because Aaron Glenn's obviously on the hot seat, and, if things don't go well next year, where does that leave Glenn? Where does that leave Reich? But for the time being, I like the hire. It's a guy with experience, and, the quarterback situation's a mess, but there's still a lot of young talent on the Jets offense that having an experienced leader could probably help with.
You know what I like about Frank Reich?
What?
I think he's going to be a great interim head coach.
I do agree with that.
I think he's going to be a great interim head coach when the Jets eventually move on from Aaron Glenn. I think I said last week I will give it like 8. I think like over under 8.5 weeks. We'll see how long it takes.
Probably a good line, yeah.
But Frank Reich, I have a feeling he's going to be the interim coach at some point, which just says what I think about Aaron Glenn as a head coach in the Jets. Again, like you said, I think it's a good hire. I don't think it's going to matter as much just because we'll see what they do with the quarterback. I don't have a lot of faith in them figuring that out until proven otherwise. I think that they've earned that.
Yes, they have earned the reputation of being terrible at developing quarterbacks.
So I think that's where.
Or should we go back to the Sam Darnold discussion?
Yeah, I mean, listen, you can't say if it doesn't work out, you can't say it's because you didn't have a guy who's qualified as an offensive coordinator. So you can't start. When Aaron Glenn tries to say it's not me, it's my entire staff next year. Yeah, let's remember that.
I think it is telling about Aaron Glenn to a certain extent that this was the hire. That because it's. All right, now you got an experienced guy, and you got a guy who can clearly step into that interim head coaching role if Glenn should get fired early on. I think it's to bring in an experienced offense coordinator. I think it's telling about how last year went and telling about, I think Glenn is kind of feeling the pressure about, he's on the hot seat. And he knows it.
Let's talk about the Giants, who made a hire of another former coach who I don't think will be an interim coach at this point this year.
No.
With John Harbaugh there. John Harbaugh bringing in Matt Nagy to be his offensive coordinator from the Chiefs, former head coach of the Bears. It's going to be interesting. He wanted Todd Monken. That was going to be his guy, Harbaugh. He picked the Browns head coaching job. Which I see some people like, oh, you're going to pick the Browns head coaching job. Listen,
it's a head coaching job.
He's 60 years old. He's never been a head coach.
Right.
Like, take the opportunity. Now, will it work out? Probably not. It's the Browns. They're horrible. They're a horrible organization. They have bad ownership, and they'll be bad probably perpetually.
Same circle as the Jets.
Yeah, they're very similar. It's just we can change the furniture, but the house is leaking. So. That is what it is, but go take that chance. It's not a knock against the Giants or Harbaugh. That was ridiculous. I saw that take. Nagy has not. He called plays with the Bears. He did not call plays with the Chiefs because that is Andy Reid's role. Now, obviously, Andy Reid has a lot of input on their offense. I would just say, and there's maybe multiple reasons for this, but this was one of the worst Chiefs offenses we've seen.
Yeah.
In recent years, They just were not the same Chiefs. I'm not saying that's Matt Nagy's fault. Like Andy Reid's got a lot of input there.
Yeah.
Nagy he's a guy. He was head coach. Their offense was good for a year with Mitch Trubisky. They actually made the playoffs with the Bears before it went real bad. I think that it's a guy who's established, but I mean maybe not one that you're like jumping for joy at.
Yeah.
But it's a fine hire.
I think it's interesting because I think it says that, John Harbaugh doesn't really want to deal with inexperience. He doesn't want to roll the dice. I think you know what you're going to get with Matt Nagy. I think Harbaugh's confident in himself and his team, and I think bringing in a guy like Matt Nagy, you know kind of what you're going to get. He's been around a while. He's been a head coach. He's been an OC. I also think it could be good for, Jackson Dart because now you're working with a guy who worked with Patrick Mahomes and saw what makes Patrick Mahomes one of the best players of all time. And I think that could help a guy like Jackson Dart in his development. It doesn't move the needle a whole bunch in terms of what I think of this team, but I do think it's a decent hire for the Giants. Just, you're bringing in an experienced guy.
Yeah, my only concern about Nagy is outside of the Bears, if we're talking about offensive coordinator, he's only been an offensive coordinator with the Chiefs. He was a quarterback's coach there from 2013, 2015, which was right before Pat Mahomes. We're talking Alex Smith days.
Yeah.
He was the offensive coordinator in 2016, 2017, which was Mahomes' rookie year. He was drafted in the 2017 draft.
Right.
And then he goes to Chicago. So a lot of his success has been with the best quarterback in the NFL. Now, that could be a plus because he helped develop him, or it could be, I think most of his success, that actually would have been Alex Smith, too. So
it would have been the Alex Smith.
Alex Smith, he would have been drafted in 2017. He sat. So there is that. But the last 3 years, he's been with the Chiefs again. So he's just been in that Chiefs. And again, whether it's Alex Smith, Patrick Mahomes, it's Andy Reid. He's one of the best offensive coaches in football. So it'll be his first time since 2021 running his own offense and calling his own plays. But I mean, at the end of the day, he knows what he's doing. It's going to be about the players for them, and again, you have Harbaugh there, so I think think that'll work out just fine.
Yeah.
And then just to mention the Bills, we won't dive into them too much, but Pete Carmichael for offensive coordinator, he was with the Saints for a while, and then Denver, he's kind of been a guy who hasn't called plays, but knows what it's like working for a coach that does, because Sean Payton, and then Jim Leonard, I think, is a great defensive coordinator hire for the Broncos, which is, I think, a little bit more important for Joe Brady in his first year as a head coach. He's on the offensive side of the ball, and you get a guy who can really run the defense. So big hires there for the Bills as well. We got NBA trade deadline, and as well as Shen grad Kevin Huerter on the move. Welcome back to 10 for 10, NBA trade deadline. And for the second year in a row, Kevin Huerter, the Shen grad, is on the move. Kevin Huerter has been traded from the Chicago Bulls to the Detroit Pistons. As we're actually recording this, again, full disclosure, this is on Thursday. They are currently playing right now. I don't know if Kevin's playing. Let me just check that real quick. This is live, people. This is happening live. It does not look like he is active. He is not active. Oh, he just hasn't entered the game. He might be active. So, hey, maybe we'll check on this throughout the episode. Yeah. Again, this is recorded Thursday, so we'll see if he gets in.
We'll give you an update, and then you can actually go find out what actually happened.
You can probably just look it up on your phone at this point. But what we can talk about is the trade itself, three-way deal between Chicago, Minnesota, and Detroit. We don't really care about the other two sides of this deal. What we do care about is Kevin Huerter and Dario Saric going to the Pistons. I wouldn't speak for, you always think about NBA trades strictly from a basketball perspective because we're fans or media, whatever you want to, like, however you're looking at it.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't know. Maybe Kevin just doesn't want to move. Maybe he likes Chicago. So I can't speak for him on that front. What I can say is from a basketball perspective, it's a great move for him because this is a team that is atop of the Eastern Conference standings, entering the day 5 games up on the Knicks and the Celtics, respectively. So this is a team that is in a championship chase right now.
Yeah.
In reading the article from ESPN, it was saying that, like, they were seeking a shooter and they went out and got Kevin Huerter to do it. So that signals to me that he's going to play and he's going to play meaningful minutes off the bench and have a significant role on a team that is contending for an NBA championship. The Bulls are getting ready for the potential Chicago Bulls Invitational, which is the NBA play-in. They make it every year. It's what they love. The Chicago Bulls Invitational. They're the 10th team. So they're the 24 and 27. They weren't doing anything. So he's now in a spot where he's really in the mix.
Yeah, absolutely. Basketball-wise, like you said, great move. We don't know what's going on for him personally. Maybe he likes Chicago. Maybe he's glad to be gone from Chicago. Who knows? But going to the Detroit Pistons, purely from a basketball perspective, like you said, great move. Right into the mix, a team leading the way in the Eastern Conference. And in terms of his fit on this team, like you said, this is what Detroit was looking for. And he slots in really nicely, coming off the bench, comes in, gets to shoot. He's going to get his chance to score some points for this team. And, it's we said it with Weaver, we said it, when we were talking about Jeff Hoffman. It's always cool to see local guys go and compete and do great things at a high level. And seeing Huerter, now being placed in a position where he has the chance to make a big impact on a big stage, it's really cool to see. Yeah,
and this year Kev's averaging 11 points per game. His 3-point percentage is down a little bit, 31%, but it's usually a career 37%, but I think this will help him because he's going to get some open looks with that team. He's going to get some great opportunities where the Bulls don't have as much of that, and he was, maybe, not getting as open looks as he's going to get in Chicago, or in Detroit. I will be rooting for Kev unless they play the Knicks, and then I hope he scores 30 again a game and maybe loses in 7 to the Knicks
Sure.
or something. Because it does, to me, the Knicks knocked out the Pistons last year, and the Pistons were very talkative about it. And I think the Celtics will be in the mix as well. And we'll get to the Knicks and Celtics in a bit. But I kind of feel like the Knicks and the Pistons are on a collision course a little bit, whether it is Eastern Conference Finals, whether it is, who knows if the Knicks end up being third seed and then the semifinals. I feel like that matchup's coming, which will be a little tough for me because I do always root for Kev and want him to do really well. He's been nothing but awesome for us and talking to him. And you always root for the local guys, but I don't really want to see him play the Knicks. So maybe they can. Yeah. Maybe we can figure out a way to avoid that. So we'll be following him even more closely. It's always hard because it's one player on one team. You're kind of checking night to night in terms of on our show of and the Bulls haven't been very good, but now he's playing for a team that we're really going to follow.
Games against the Knicks and Celtics, two teams that we talk about and cover,
and we're going to talk about them.
Right now. Excellent.
To the New York Knicks. The Knicks, they've heated up. Yeah. I love counting the win streaks while I'm doing this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in a row. Double overtime win against Denver. That was an exhilarating game. Oh, you know who their next game is against? It is, if you're watching this is Friday, it's tonight. And it's against the Detroit Pistons.
There you go.
So that's something we'll be covering.
Yeah.
Hopefully Kev gets in that game. So from the Knicks' perspective, they've been playing really well. Obviously, Giannis did not end up getting traded.
Yeah.
I think that they know that they can get more probably in the offseason when a team like the Knicks might be more in the mix. And you have more teams.
Yeah.
These teams get more picks that they can trade. The Knicks couldn't trade any picks. Now they'll be able to trade 2 in the offseason. Same thing with the Heat. They get even more picks that they're able to trade. So I think that the Knicks did the right thing at this point of now it's starting to look like it did in the early going again. Let's not break this team up. They have enough. Karl Anthony Towns has been playing better. Yeah. Mitchell Robinson, the way they've kind of shifted him and Mitch with offense, defense late in games, almost like they're hockey players running line. Like I think that has been great for Mike Brown. It was awesome in the Nuggets game because Mitchell Robinson was locking up Jokic at the end of the game. So I think that they kept their core intact and they made a nice move. Getting Jose Alvarado, point guard from New Orleans, who's always had big games against the Knicks because he's from Queens. He's from Brooklyn. He played high school basketball in Queens. It's home for him. So this is a guy who's a scrappy defender, energy guy, can shoot, and he's going to be a backup point guard for a team that it means more for him.
Yeah.
He's going to be fired up to play in the Garden, so I love that move.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great trade, and I think outside of trading for Giannis and making that big swing, this is what the Knicks kind of needed to do because you look at them, they're on an 8-game win streak right now. There aren't many holes that you can see in the way they're playing right now. So you add a backup point guard who can kind of take some of that weight off of Brunson, not in terms of scoring, but in terms of some of the defensive load. You can start playing him in certain spots, and just an energy guy who is going to be passionate about winning for the Knicks is special. We've seen how exciting and how passionate this fan base can be when the Knicks are good and playing playoff basketball at the Garden, and he'll feed right into that.
Yeah, and it's even bigger because today if you're watching this on Friday, on Thursday, Deuce McBride is going to be out potentially until the playoffs, and that's hopefully he'll be back from the playoffs.
Right.
He's having surgery on his core, so he was a big guard for them off the bench, even started some games when they had some other injuries. Deuce has been awesome this year and is a great defender, so they lost that. Now they get that kind of guy back in Alvarado, and hopefully they have them both come playoff time. So I love that move, and I think this gives them a good opportunity to run through it with this core. They think that they're good enough. I think they're good enough to at least win the East, roll the dice from there, and then if it doesn't work out, maybe you can enter the Giannis sweepstakes in the offseason when you have a little bit more to offer. So that's our wrap on the Knicks. But we have the Celtics making moves. Your Celtics making moves. They traded for Nikola Vucevic. This was, I think, a great trade for them. It's not something that maybe when you see it on paper is like, oh, now They're winning the championship
Right.
now. But they needed a center. They're playing Luka Garza and other young guys,
Yeah.
At the 5, and they just didn't have a true, reliable starting caliber center, and now they do.
Yeah, I mean, you get a veteran guy who's been in the league a long time. He hasn't had a ton of playoff success, but you go fill a hole with a veteran guy, and I think it doesn't move them into – it doesn't really do much for them in terms of moving them to the next level, but it certainly fills a need that they desperately had, and I think it makes this a more complete roster. And especially if you get Jason Tatum back from injury later
that's the
on,
big one.
then it's like, because Jason Tatum, this team is really good, but it's going to be tough for them, especially if they have to go through the Knicks and the Pistons in the playoffs to do that without Jason Tatum. But if Jason Tatum comes back and all of a sudden now it's Jaylen Brown who's having the best year of his life, and you get Jason Tatum back in the mix, and now you have a good center, all of a sudden this looks like a complete and really dynamic team. So I think it's a good move to help them maintain where they're at and put up a good fight in the playoffs and maybe make a push. But it's setting up for, if Jason Tatum can come back, now all of a sudden this is really a team to be reckoned with where there's not a hole in this lineup.
Yeah, and I think even if Tatum doesn't come back, that's the big one for them to win a championship, they need Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
I think that we can just I think that
you need your best player to win a championship. It's not breaking news.
I think the difference if he doesn't come back, and this is not the end goal, but in a season where you don't have your best player and you're just kind of making the most of it, I think that Vucevic is a huge addition when you could be playing a team like the Cavs, Sixers, or Raptors, who I think the Celtics are better than the Raptors. I think they're better than the Sixers, but the Sixers do have high-level talent.
Right.
And the Cavs, we'll see with James Harden. I am not a James Harden guy. That's for another
It's a whole other discussion.
He's a certified loser. I mean, I'm sorry. Just in terms of winning playoff games, I've been on this from the beginning of James Harden with the Rockets. Great regular season player. Gets a bunch of fouls called throughout the regular season. Doesn't get those calls in the playoffs. Runs out of gas. Out of shape. Can't play defense. Loses every time. But that is neither here nor there. That is still a talented team, the Cavaliers.
Yeah.
I think it could be the difference, Vucevic, in winning a first, second round series where now I think it separates them a little bit more.
Yeah.
With Vucevic, a guy who's just a steady 17-9, like that.
Yeah.
That plays for them. So it's going to be interesting. The Knicks and Celtics are in this. They have the same record right now without Tatum. It doesn't. The regular season, it doesn't really matter. But we're just getting now that the trade deadline's done and we know what these teams are going to look like. It's like, let's stay healthy, get to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens. But we will be right back. We're talking Siena men's lacrosse next. Welcome back to 10 for 10. A little bit more of an emotional one here in terms of this is the first time. They've been back for a couple weeks, but the Siena men's lacrosse team gearing up to start their season and obviously doing so without Liam Gleason, who tragically, of course, passed away in December, which just rocked the Siena community, the team. I think really just the Capital Region as a whole is just such a sad, tragic passing. Now they're trying to get back to, what they love. They're still honoring Liam. It's great to see they had the LG on their helmets. And we've talked to them. I talked to Tim Cox about it but even before they got back, about how he needs to balance honoring him while also letting people and letting his players kind of escape a little bit and do what they love and make it not a heavy place, make it about fun and lacrosse. And I think being on the field, while maybe the first couple times was a little strange, I think now getting back to the game has helped them heal a little bit more.
Yeah, being at that, at that media availability, it was yesterday. It was on Wednesday. Hearing, asking, Coach Cox about what the emotions were like for him. He's like, they're there. They're gonna be there. But he talked about how it's a medicine game and how it can be healing for this group. And talking to some of the players, it's on their mind. It's something that's there, but getting back to playing the game they love with their teammates and their brothers has been a positive thing for them. And Gleason was such a high energy, fun guy for them that continuing to do that on the field is good for them, and it's a way that they're honoring his memory. And also Coach Cox talked about the first couple practices. First day, they kept it light. They wanted to have fun, and they just wanted to kind of be back together and kind of have fun playing the game that they love. And, it's going to be an emotional season, no doubt, because, first time for everything when they're going through it. First home game next week on Hickey Field without Coach Gleason, I'm sure is going to be emotional. When they play UAlbany, that's obviously going to be a big one. But, getting back to it and getting back to that routine and just playing the game they love has been healing for these guys.
Yeah, and you mentioned the medicine game aspect, and that's something that dates back to Native Americans referred to it as the medicine game, and that's something that we've heard the Thompson brothers talk about and how healing it is. And I just looked it up because I wanted to make sure I was factually correct, but it does say, according to early Indian communities in times of sickness, the medicine people would prepare themselves and call upon the life forces of Mother Earth to assist in relieving sickness. The right medicines would appear to be chosen to improve the power of the medicines. A lacrosse game would be requested. That's different, but at the same time, it just shows that this game has been used and as healing for a long time, dating back to the Native Americans, and it's similar here where it's a different story, but it's still a team that's looking to heal and leaning on lacrosse to do it. And they're going to find the right times to honor Liam. I'm sure the first home game will be a little bit different as well. They play. If you're watching this, they're starting at 4:00 on Friday. So that's their first game against BU. Their first home game is on February 14th, Saturday. I'm sure that one will be emotional. And like you said, UAlbany will certainly be that. So, listen, this is a team that's really good.
Yeah.
And they won the conference last year, and they're looking to go back to back, and they have high goals. And I think that it could be out of tragedy and what happened, there could be a really special season for this team as they kind of heal together. So we'll be keeping an eye on that throughout the year. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back. Welcome back to 10 for 10, and this is a part where we're going to talk about college basketball, but a lot of the teams are playing
right
after we record this. So bear with us on that front, and that includes the Siena men's basketball team, which has really turned it on. I mean, it's not like they were not playing well.
Right.
They kind of... It was a little bit of an inauspicious start to the conference play.
Yeah.
But they've won 5 in a row going into Thursday, 9-3, playing Iona at home, a team that beat them the first time around on ESPNU, national television. I know that this game is important for them. They want to put a good product out there on national television.
Yeah, I think, 5-game win streak put them right back where we thought they were going to be, right? They weren't playing particularly poorly. They had a couple of bad shooting nights. I think that was the big thing for this team is that, at the beginning of January, they kind of struggled to shoot the ball, and now that they've kind of settled back in, they've won 5 in a row, and they put themselves right back at the top of the conference. Right now they're in a tie for second, and, it's right where they want to be. But now they got probably one of the tougher stretches to close the conference season in the entire league. So we're really going to see what this team is made of, and we're going to get a good clue about where they stand going into the MAC tournament in the following weeks because, schedule does not get easier. St. Peter's is at the top of the conference. Quinnipiac's very good. Merrimack has been phenomenal this year. It's going to be a grind for this team, but it's going to be a good test, and they're going to be ready for that MAC tournament when it comes around.
For you, Albany, they entered the night again. They're playing right now, but 3-5 in conference play. Streaky for them. They've lost 4 in a row heading into Bryant after winning 3 in a row, including a win over Vermont, which was a huge win for them. They are just really beat up right now. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what it is. They are down 5 players. All 5 of them have made a start this year. 3 of the 5 have played at least 5 games. But, DK was saying this is an opportunity for other guys, and there's no excuses. Can we get hot? Can we be the team that grows the most and can we get healthy over this final stretch going into the conference tournament?
Yeah, I mean, I think, this team has shown flashes of being great, but they've been a little inconsistent. And right now, dealing with all the injuries is just tough. It's a tough beat whenever you have to deal with injuries in any sport, and especially college basketball where – when you have that many injuries, all of a sudden you're really thin. Like you were telling me, they were talking about they have coaches running in practice on the floor because just to get 5-on-5. But to your point, almost every coach we'll talk to talks about peaking at the right time and playing their best and being healthy. And that's at the end of February, at the end of the regular season, and into your conference tournament at the start of March. So there's still, this team, the win streak put them in a good spot. You'd like to see them rattle off a couple wins and kind of get things going, but you still want to build and you still want to get hot at the right time, and I think this team is more than capable of doing that.
Albany women, that was one game we actually did have because it was in the morning at 11 a.m. They fought to Bryant. They've lost 2 in a row. Bryant is a good team this year, so they lost by 6. Not a loss to hang their head about too much. They are 2-8, and I know it's like, well, they're 2-8. This is a really young team, and they're still figuring it out. Last week, they took a big step forward. They destroyed a good NJIT team by 17 on the road before losing in overtime at UMBC. So they almost swept a home weekend or a road weekend. Couldn't quite pull it off. They fall to Bryant. There's something about this team where, for me, again, it really matters what you do in March. They're probably not going to be hosting a playoff game unless they really go on a streak here. But as a young group, can they continue to grow and be better on the defensive end where it starts for Connolly Mullins teams and make a run? The America East is very good. All of their losses are close, except for their biggest loss in conference was 16 against Vermont, who they also lost to by 11. And Vermont is kind of the cream of the crop. So while it doesn't look great on paper, there are still opportunities in front of this team.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's interesting because that's not, knowing that there's still a chance. These have been frustrating losses for this team when they're so close and you feel like, well, they shot 26% today and only lost by 6. You only give up 50 points and you lose by 6, and you feel like it's a game they could have won and they're frustrated by it. But there is that bit of hope where they're a bucket away from really being in some of these games. They're 2 scores away from all of a sudden being a 500 team. So, I think the talent is there. It's just they're a really young team. They haven't quite put it together yet. I think if they can find a way, especially to, the defense certainly coming around. I mean, this is now, even with even losing 3 out of these 4, they've allowed less than 60 points in 4 straight games, and that includes an overtime game. So I think the offense, it needs to start coming around. They got to find a way to, see some of these shots go down. But, this is a team that defensively is coming around, and that plays in the playoffs.
And then Siena women quickly, they have won 2 in a row. Again, a very streaky team that they win a couple in a row, they lose a couple in a row. They're trying to find that consistency. Now 7-5 in conference play for a team that started 0-7. So they're another young team that's taken steps in the right direction. Albeit, I mean, they beat Niagara, who hasn't won a game. Not great, but shout out Niagara. But they won and beat Canisius as well in overtime, so taking the right steps there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a team that, like you, Albany, because they're so young, there are going to be ups and downs. There are going to be bumps in the road, but I think for Siena, they have Francesca Shiro, who is phenomenal as a freshman point guard, and I think when this team is knocking down their three-pointers and they're applying pressure on defense, they can play with a lot of teams in this conference, and I think if they get hot at the right time, they could be dangerous when they get to Atlantic City.
We've got to be real quick with hockey, and I mean real quick. So we are just literally going to say basically who they're playing and where they're at. So Union lost another tough conference matchup last time out to Dartmouth. They're now 5-8-1 in conference play, despite being 15-9-2 overall. Still trying to figure out in conference. They will be at St. Lawrence Friday, at Clarkson Saturday. The RPI men continues to be a struggle for them as well. They've lost 3 in a row, 3-11 in conference play, now 6-20 overall. They lost to Dartmouth and Harvard the last weekend out. They will be at Clarkson first, at St. Lawrence on Saturday. That does it. We went 10 for 10. We really tied it at the end there, but we went 10 for 10. We'll see you next week.